alte Gags, 7, 8, gute Nacht, Einfall, Polizei, 3, 4, Grenadier, 5, 6, alte Gags, 7, 8, gute Nacht, Einfall, Polizei, 3, 4, Grenadier, 5, 6, alte Gags, 7, 8, gute Nacht, Einfall, Polizei, 3, 4, Grenadier, 5, 6, alte Gags, 7, 8, gute Nacht.
You are listening to Däs Bündesliga Show here on the Lock Betting Podcast. You can follow Lock Betting on Truth Social and on Instagram by going to the handle at Lock Betting. That is at Lock Betting. So moving on with this edition of Däs Bündesliga Show, we are covering 5 games for you here on the show. 5 of the 8 remaining games in the Bundesliga. We start with a game between Eintracht Frankfurt and Hoffenheim, where Frankfurt are the 4-5 favourites on the money line. It's 3-1 on the draw, and it's 3-1 here on Hoffenheim. Frankfurt come home here, where I do expect them to open up with their first win of the season. However, the data points us more towards goals, particularly in this fixture. Now, individually going into this one, Frankfurt have no clean sheet in their last 4. Their opponents, Hoffenheim, have no clean sheets in their last 8. More than 2.5 goals have been scored in 9 of the last 10 matches to involve Eintracht Frankfurt, whilst both teams have scored in 6 of the last 8 matches involving Hoffenheim. Now looking at the head-to-head stats between the two, we have seen no clean sheet in the last 9 head-to-heads for Frankfurt. We have seen no clean sheet in the last 14 for Hoffenheim. This fixture has seen over 2.5 goals cash in 9 of the last 9, so 100% of the last 9. And in 9 of the last 9, we've also seen both teams finding the back of the net. So this is a fixture that almost guarantee goals, with both teams capable of finding the net against each other. Therefore, it's not surprising to see BTTS juiced 2-1-2 minus 200, and over 2.5 goals juiced at 4-9. Oh, sorry, I've got that the wrong way around. It's 4-9 on BTTS and 1-2 minus 200 on the overs. So what we're going to do is we are going to combine both of those selections, given both have hit in 9 of the last 9. That gives us a jump up of 7-10, still juiced, but we have significant data. We have something that has cashed in 100% of 9 straight games with the over 2.5 goals combined with BTTS, and we take that at the price of 7-10. Whilst we do have a passing interest in Frankfurt, we cannot ignore this kind of significant data. Up next, we look at the game between Bochum and Borussia Mönchengladbach, where Bochum are the 17-10 home dogs. It's 11-4 on the draw, and it's 13-10 here on Gladbach. If Gladbach can replicate their performance of last weekend, they should have too much for Bochum. But again, the data for this game does point us towards goals, particularly for the head-to-head matches. We have seen Gladbach win 3 straight. They won both of these games last season. Bochum are without a clean sheet in 14 straight head-to-head matches. Over 2.5 goals is cashed in 8 of the last 9, with BTTS cashing in 8 of the last 9. So once again, we are guaranteed goals here. Last season, we saw 11 goals in the 2 matches between the two, with Gladbach destroying Bochum 5-2 in February, whilst last September, Gladbach won this fixture away at Bochum by 3-1. So I think Gladbach is the right side along with the goals. If Gladbach can score 2 goals here, it does put them in a position where I believe they cannot lose the game. So whilst I was looking at over 2.5 goals, in order for Gladbach to be on the right side of over 2.5 goals, they're going to need to score 2 goals, because if they only score 1 and we go over 2.5 goals, then they've lost this game by 2 goals to 1. I am probably expecting more goals than that, but the thing that I'm most certain of looking at these stats is that Gladbach can find the net a couple of times, and their team total of over 1.5 is actually at a decent price of 10 to 11 minus 110, and that's what we're going to take here for our selection. We're going to take Gladbach to score a couple of goals, Gladbach over 1.5, and that's available, as I mentioned, at 10 to 11 minus 110. Up next, we look at Dortmund's trip to Werder Bremen, where they are the 10 to 11 favourites on the money line. It's 29 to 10 on the draw, and it's 13 to 5 here on Werder Bremen. Dortmund need to improve their away form this season if they're going to get closer to the title contenders. They come up against an opponent who they haven't lost to in any of the last 5 and have beaten them in 3 straight head-to-head matches. Bremen are without a clean sheet in 6 straight matches against Dortmund, whilst over 2.5 goals is cashed in 5 of the last matches to involve Bremen, with BTTS cashing in 4 of the last 5. As for head-to-head matches, Dortmund have won 3 straight. Bremen are without a clean sheet in this fixture in all of the last 20 matches, whilst Dortmund, they usually get out in front. They have scored the first goal in 6 of the last 7 matches against Werder Bremen. I believe the first goal puts Dortmund in a very strong position to win, and this is the game. This is the type of game that Dortmund need to be winning this season. So I'm going to take a chance on Dortmund here at a price of 10 to 11 on the money line. Nice and simple here for this one. Up next, we move on to the game of the weekend, the late kickoff on Saturday, as Bayer Leverküsen are hosting RB Leipzig. Leverkusen are the 3 to 4 favourites on the money line here. It's 3 to 1 on the draw, and it's 16 to 5 here on RB Leipzig. I'm willing to take a punt here on a bigger play. I'm willing to take Leverkusen to not only win the game, but to tack on BTTS. Now, I'm willing to fade this Leverkusen team this season, as I don't think they can repeat what they did last year. But I was not impressed with Leipzig last weekend. So I do believe that Leverkusen are catching them at the right time and can make a 100% start to the season here by winning 2 games out of 2. Leverkusen were formidable at home last season. They won 14 of their 17 home games in the league. They made a strong start to the campaign by picking up a win last weekend. They showed that they still had that resilience, getting themselves a late winner 10 minutes into stoppage time. Prior to that, they did dominate the game and they did let Mönchengladbach back in through the back door. But what we saw in the early stages from Leverkusen was impressive. They host a Leipzig side that lost each of their visits to the top 3 sides above them in the league last season. But they did score in each of those defeats. So this is the type of fixture that replicates the type of game that Leipzig were losing last season. But they were finding the back of the net in those games. Both meetings between the sides last season saw Leverkusen secured 3-2 victories. And that individual scoreline is available for you here at 20 to 1. And I think that could be worth a sprinkle, given that was the scoreline twice last season. But ultimately, we land on Leverkusen and BTTS, as last season Leipzig lost at each of the 3 sides that finished above them, but they did score in each of those defeats, but they did ship 12 goals in those games. They also lost 5 times on the road overall, but they did fail to score just once in those defeats. And we do land on Leverkusen here. It is a team, as I mentioned, that we are looking to fade this season. We are looking at some regression, but I was not impressed with Leipzig's opening game of the season last weekend. And I think Leverkusen are catching them at the right time. I think Leverkusen's legs and their overall invincibility factor will come under scrutiny when the Champions League begins. Do they have the squad depth to cope with that? At the moment, we are not in those waters, and I'm still happy to take Leverkusen to pick up the win here in this one. The final game goes down on Sunday as Bayern Munich are at home to Freiburg. Munich are the 1 to 5 favourites here. It's 13 to 2 on the draw, and it's 11 to 1 here on Freiburg. Bayern Munich looked to be coasting to a win last weekend, and things got chaotic once again In this particular game, I just have a gut feeling that Vincent Kompany will want things to be a little bit calmer. And I feel that Bayern Munich will win a game more routinely here at home and could even potentially keep a clean sheet here against Freiburg. Bayern have won 19 of their last 20 Bundesliga meetings with Freiburg and have lost just one of their last 11 at home in all competitions. Bayern also have kept clean sheets in both of their last two encounters with Freiburg at the Allianz Arena. So that puts us in good stead for another clean sheet. And as I said, I do believe that he will want a sense of calmness. He won't want another 5-goal thriller like last weekend against Wolfsburg. So here, rather than banking on a clean sheet, we're going to take Bayern Munich and under 4.5 goals. Now, this isn't very often a plus money selection for top sides. When we look at this bet with Man City, when we added it last week to the Liverpool game with Brentford, we weren't getting plus money. We're getting plus money here. We're getting 11 to 10 plus 110 that we don't see 5 goals scored along with this Bayern Munich victory. I'm happy to take that. I think there'll be a deliberate call for calm here. Once Bayern Munich do get ahead, they'll be looking to maintain the ball possession as we look ahead to a long season. I'm not saying that they're not going to be trying to score any goals, but the combination of trying to install a sense of calmness while Freiburg are trying not to get beaten by 3, 4 or 5 here, I think will come together for our under to be a winning bet here. So that's what we're going to take here for this one. Not the strongest play. It's just a feeling that I have. I don't think Vincent Kompany, as a defender himself, wants this Bayern Munich team to continue being this frantic, chaotic, end-to-end side who give up chances at one end whilst trying to outscore their opponents on a weekly basis, needing to score 3 goals to win games. So we're going to take Bayern Munich and under 4.5 goals, and hopefully this is aided by a third clean sheet in a row for Bayern against Freiburg at home. That's it for me and this edition of Däs Bündesliga Show. Good luck with all your bets as always, and thanks for listening.